So our lead this hour from Motown. The curtain went up on week 14. Week 14 of the NFL season. My God, it's wild how fast. Well, usually that follows week 13. So we had an NFC North slobber knocker. Jordan Love and the Packers trying to get revenge as they paid a visit to the great state of Michigan in a day at Ford Field. A little play date with Jared Goff and the Lions. You had Al Michaels there. You knew it's a big game. You knew it was a big game. Al Michaels, Herbie, and his new dog. And they had the call there on the Amazon. Now, solid matchup. This is not a game that sucked. It was a game that we thought would be pretty good. It was. And if you saw it or not, maybe you were looking outside the window and doing nothing. The Packers trying to take the lion by the tail, and how'd that work out? Well, Jared Goff threw not one, not two, but 3 touchdown passes. And somebody named Jake Bates, who sounds like a serial killer, had a 35-yard field goal as time expired. The Lions are in the play. The Detroit Lions are in the play. Did anyone think they weren't going to make the playoffs this year? The Lions are in the playoffs. 34-31 your final as they take down the Pack on a Thursday night game. The Lions in the playoffs. They're the NFC's top team at 12-1. And holy Barry Sanders, Batman, where have you gone, Wayne Fonts? The Lions have broken the franchise record. Bobby Lane, the curse of Bobby Lane no more. 11 straight wins for the Lions, and that includes a couple over the Green Bay Packers, and Detroit staying ahead of Minnesota in the NFC North. So you got 3 teams likely in the playoffs in that division. Lions are in, Packers at 9-4, and Minnesota at 10-2. But the better story is in the losing locker room. So that is where we will begin our in-depth team coverage as we break this down. So the question for the class, who gets the blame cheese curds for Matt LaFleur and the Packers? So I've got Medical Scrubs, Code Gray, and Riverboat. And we will combine all of these things together. All of these things. And we hope to be as brave as a lion. That's what we hope to be. All right, so let's start with the Green Bay Marching and Chowder Society has reached out to me, and we do very well in northern Wisconsin. I think it's because my brother lives there. So the Green Bay fans, they've all told me it's not that the Packers lost the game, it's the officials gave the game to the Lions. There were some shady calls in this game, but that is a smokescreen. And don't overlook the thing right in front of your eyes. The Green Bay Packers defense, for better or worse, was worse. They sucked at a time you cannot suck. And Jared Goff was out there, and I swear he was wearing medical scrubs in a large chunk of the fourth quarter there. The Lions' offense was surgical as they sliced up the Packer defense, and it was like a child playing with Play-Doh. It wasn't anything exotic. It wasn't like they had reinvented the playbook. Detroit, the better team here, they had a lot of success running very basic NFL plays, the dig route or route, if you will, right over the middle. Right? So you're supposed to defend the middle, and they didn't do that. And also, a lot of timing plays, little screen passes, good blocking, bad tackling, good blocking. Jared Goff completed 32 passes. And my math, I jotted this down. I think it was the final 13 passes that he completed. And just terrible tackling technique. Detroit ends up with 27 first downs. They had up almost 400 yards of offense, 391. But it's how they were able to methodically hold the Packers offense off the field. Converted 47% on third down, but 4 of 5, 80% on fourth down, and 80% in the red zone. So the Detroit Lions getting it done, although they did not get it done against the point spread. The Pack could not get the Lions offense off the field. Detroit ran 76 plays. The Cheeseheads ran 45 plays. That's a plus 31 advantage if my Maller math is correct. And so it's rather shocking that it came down to a field goal. If you run 31 more plays than the other team, generally speaking, you're winning by a lot. You don't need to wind the clock down and get a late field goal to win the game. And let's also not overlook the fact that while Jordan Love in the second half was good, in the beginning of the game, he was garbage at the start. Oh, you're not supposed to say that. He's the new savior of the Packers. He was bad in the first half, and the Packers were playing uphill. Now, fortunately, thanks to some generosity by the Lions, the Packers were able to get right back and get the lead within 4 minutes in the second half. But the first half was a struggle, and then they were playing uphill after that. Now, turning the page. I'm going to get to the Lions in a minute. We have some great audio here that I want to play. So the Packers coach, Matt LaFleur, there was an incident before the game. Okay, I don't know if you saw this or not before. So there was a heated exchange that happened. There was a temperature that had risen up in the room. There was an exchange with the Lion fan. This is pregame. So the game hadn't even kicked off yet. And from what I have been able to uncover, so this Lions fan was invited onto the field for the pregame festivities. I think he was there to hold the flag, if I read properly. And rather than Matt LaFleur started yelling at the guy. The guy was yelling at him. They went back and forth. But here's Matt LaFleur breaking down, the Packer coach, on how that went down. Take a listen.
He was talking junk to our players, giving them the throat slash sign, and you're trying to de-escalate it, and then he gets in my face. So I thought it was pretty unsportsmanlike. Like, I've never seen that. I've been on many fields, and usually they police that much better. I thought it was an arrogant fan that, wanted to get in part of the action, and I would like to see security or something step in there and get him out of there, because he shouldn't be doing that.
No, shouldn't be doing it. Now, the beginning of that, I think, is a pretty funny drop. Can we just play the guy when he said he was talking junk to our players? I think that's a funny drop on the show. Let's hear that again, that beginning part. Let's see if we can hear that.
He was talking junk to our players.
Oh, yeah, right there. Yeah, isn't that a funny drop? Out of context drop? Wouldn't that be a fun drop on the show, like out of context? I think that would be great. And he doesn't say anyone by name. You don't even know who that is, Matt LaFleur. I think that's good. All right, so let's get to the scorecard here, the judges' scorecards. How did you score the pregame verbal battle royale between the Packers coach, Matt LaFleur, and Joe Blow Lions fan? How did you score it? So I go to my scorecard. I scored it a 10-9 advantage in favor of the fan. I love the fact that Matt LaFleur is talking about unsportsmanlike. Hey, coach, he's a fan. He's not an athlete. It's not high school. It's not Little League. He's just a drunk guy or somebody that's on the spectrum who's out there. Now, in the hospital, they would call this a code gray, a combative person, a random schmendrick. This guy gets invited onto the field. Not everyone gets to go out in the field before an NFL game. This guy gets invited on the field. He ends up thinking he's part of the show, right? I'm part of the show. And then he's like doing double duty. Not only is he there as a fan, but he's a enemy combatant. He's the flag guy. He's the instigator guy. He works himself into a lather talking trash. And while the guy is certainly a douche canoe, I mean, who does that, right? I mean, really, who does? I mean, a douche. That's a douche move. But that's a real fan. All right, that's a fanatic. Fan is short for fanatic. The guy's a diehard. He had convinced himself he was actually on the Lions. He had convinced himself that it's like the fourth wall had been broken, and he was in the show. He was on the stage, and he's a foxhole guy. He's a foxhole guy. And I thought that was just great. All right, last word. Let's circle back to the Lions, the team that is the top team on the NFC side of the bracket, and we'll zero in on them. So all that glitters is not gold. Detroit is absolutely monster mashing with this win streak. It's amazing. I've never seen anything like this. None of us have, because it's never happened before in any of our lives that the Detroit Lions have been this good. It's a two-horse race in the NFC. You've got the Lions on one side, and the Eagles are, for lack of a better term, bird-dogging the Lions. But what gives you pause, let me ask the question, what gives you pause with the Lions, who look amazing But what gives you pause heading down the stretch of the NFL season? So I've got software and riverboat. That's what I jotted down, software and riverboat. So a Jared Goff, I got a bell. A Jared Goff has been Mr. Smooth in Motown. I understand he does a lot of local commercials. He's a darling there, local attorney's office or whatever. They have Jared Goff on there. Despite his success, having watched Jared Goff poop his pants many a time over the years in big games back in his days with the Rams, I would advise anyone who is fully investing in Jared Goff to tread lightly. Now, my guy Spicoli knew exactly where I was going with this, but Jared Goff has faulty software. There is a Trojan horse glitch in that software, and he's going to break your heart at some point. And he's like, he doesn't throw. I heard Al Michaels doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, but boy, when he does, they're humdingers. They are humdingers. All right, now the other part of this is the riverboat gambler. All right, the other part of this, the riverboat gambler. So Dan Campbell is a hybrid. It's fascinating. They should study Dan Campbell because he's mostly a meathead. He's a typical meathead coach. I want to eat your kneecaps, that kind of guy. But in terms of modern football, he is fully invested in the dogma of analytics. He's all about that analytics. I just imagine in his headphones there's some nerd in the press box. All right, Dan, go for it. All right, whatever you say. Oh, yeah. He's like a caveman, Dan Campbell. Campbell went for it on fourth down 5 times in the game Thursday. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about, including with 1 yard to go at the Detroit 21-yard line with 43 seconds left, which tells you he has no confidence in his own defense, right? If you're afraid that you give Jordan Love 43 seconds to go, your defense can't keep them out of field goal range, that is a vote of no confidence for the Lions defense. But it is also a rubber stamp for the analytics. That's an analytical move. No, all these old coaches are rolling over in their graves, right? What are you doing? But they did it, and it worked out, and it almost backfired because Jared Goff got tripped by one of his offensive linemen. He got stepped on. They still converted the line to gain marker, but it backfired at one point. They turned the ball over on downs. The one time it didn't work for the Lions, they turned the ball over on downs late third quarter at their own 30-yard line, handing the Packers a touchdown. And that's the kind of thing, when you do that in the playoffs, that's the kind of thing that haunts you, all right? That's the kind of thing that gets you fired. And even if you're just doing what the analytic people want and all that stuff, doesn't matter. But we know how this book ends, right? We know how this book normally ends. It's out of the Bible. Live by the sword, die by the sword. Live by the analytics, die by the analytics.